I respect everybody, but if you fuck with me, so it's gonna be different. But you gonna find out September 13th, this is gonna be different for you.
So when I beat you, is you gonna be a nobody? When I stuff a mud hole in your ass, is you gonna be a nobody? You're gonna be just like everybody else. Watch.
Opportunity to do so. Get it off the gear.
Here it is. Kovalev's hurt. Kovalev's down. Kovalev's out. It's over.
Hi guys, how's it going? And just making sure everyone's running. Make sure if you can actually hear me, comment in the chat. Appreciate it. That'd be good. And I think we're good at the moment. Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, from what I can see. And yeah, guys, thanks for joining the live today. Thought I'd do this. It's such a huge fight, obviously, this Saturday. So yeah, it made sense to cover it and give you my last thoughts and predictions anyway. And yeah, let's get right into it. I guess obviously the main topic of the conversation is going to be obviously Canelo and Crawford. If you guys have any questions in the chat as well, feel free to put it in and I'll try to answer those at some point throughout. And yeah, we'll get into it. So, and I've got this, I've put together some slides for this. And just looking at like basically stats and stuff like that. And unfortunately, when I was doing the stats, I was looking at the CompuBox numbers and I was doing Canelo's numbers and I forgot to add in the Berlanga fight, which is so frustrating. So I was meant to do his last 5 fights. You know, maybe that's a good thing. I missed him out. Not like it really matters. But I've quickly had to put the CompuBox numbers, but I'll talk about that anyway and like how it could see like basically make the outcome of the fight, you know, whatever. So but we'll get into it though. Obviously they both guys weighed in. I don't know how you guys thought how they both looked. I think Crawford looks absolutely terrific shape, have to admit. And you know, Canelo, obviously I think he's obviously had to cut down to get to, I think he was 175 pounds and a half, I believe. Or no, sorry, 167 pounds, my bad. And then Crawford was, oh, sorry, I'm going to have to check this. No, Crawford was 167 pounds and Canelo was 167 and a half pounds. So, yeah, I think both look in good shape. And yeah, I thought, yeah, Crawford looks great. And I was worried that, you know, you still might look a bit slender. I don't know. I just got that feeling. Obviously, there was that picture that went viral on social media, and he looked absolutely jacked, didn't he? And even just looking at this photo here of the weigh-in, like it's just nothing in comparison, really, is it? So, yeah, I always knew he was going to be slightly slimmer than Canelo. You know, obviously Canelo, when it comes to fight night, he's always a lot more fuller and whatnot. So yeah, you know, can read into what you want, you know. And just a reminder, guys, make sure to like the stream if you're here, and if you've got any comments, please leave it in the chat and I'll get to it. And let me just move this banner out the way first. So the other thing as well, like even when they were doing the face-off, obviously Crawford's labeled at 5'8". Alvarez, I feel like his height has changed over the years. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed that. Like so many times I've noticed that it's just like gone to a different height. I don't know why. I don't know if he's like lying about his height for whatever reason, but yeah, I think they kind of, yeah, they look about the same size. Obviously, Crawford will have the longer reach, and that will play a factor, I guess, in the fight itself, in my opinion. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. In terms of the last fights, and yeah, I think obviously you have to kind of, I'd probably have to edge Canelo in terms of having the better last 10 fights. And to be fair, he's been a lot more consistent than Crawford as well, as a lot of you guys will know. Obviously, since the Bivol fight, you know, people have said he's had how many? 1, 2, 6 unanimous decisions. And you know, Golovkin, let's be honest, he was past at that point. You know, John Ryder, you know, put up a brave fight, but really it was pretty straightforward night for Canelo. Same with, you know, the Charlo fight. Charlo ran pretty much for all 12 rounds. Munguia, though, I think Munguia was one of the better fighters. He gave it a go in those first kind of 4 rounds before the knockdown. And then after that, he kind of shelled up, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Edgar Berlanga as well. Like, I think he went in there to survive as well, which is just frustrating. And then you know what that skull fight was like. But like the last like real hard fight, it's obviously the Bivol fight, isn't it? And yeah, we all know Bivol won that pretty convincingly. And I think that was more to do with, you know, obviously the style matchup, but also just the size of Bivol as well. I think that played a part. You know, Canelo was at 175. Canelo is a small guy. And in terms of Crawford, obviously, like, yeah, just inconsistent. You know, since 2020, he's only fought like once a year, and that's a worry going into this fight for me. Like, I don't know about you guys. Let me know in the chat. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I think that could play a factor in terms of how Crawford starts. And you know, even watching like the Porter fight, for example, even the Madrimov fight, you know, like he started quite slow. I just felt like he wasn't that quick with his start. Obviously, Madrimov, you know, herky-jerky style, lots of feints and whatnot. So that was always going to be an issue for him in terms of just working him out. The Spence fight, I don't really, you know, I think that with that one as well, it was like Spence obviously overcommitted at that one moment. Was it the 3rd or the 2nd round? I can't remember which round it was now. But with the jab, and then obviously Crawford managed to knock him down. And then after that, I think it was the next round, Spence came out, and then Spence kind of went for it. But then that just opened up more counterpunch opportunities for Crawford. So then it was kind of the beginning of the end for Spence. He was just kind of done after that. He kind of, Crawford just completely destroyed him, really, if we're being honest. Avanesian, he had a kind of slow start there as well, I guess, but pretty much dominated in the end. The Porter fight, you know, Sean Porter had a good start. Yeah, so, you know, looking at, you know, those last 10 fights from Crawford, you know, on paper, I think you have to give it to Canelo, let's be honest. And yeah, we'll get on to the next part, which I'm just trying to, yeah, I'm going to go into stats and stuff next, but yeah, if you guys have got any questions, please leave it in the comments. I'll get to them and we'll go on. Don't tell me you're one of these hipsters picking Crawford, because I'll immediately change the channel. Well, man, you got to wait till my prediction, which I'll do after the stats and stuff, man. It's so funny. One thing I'll say about people, they're so quick to just assume, you know, who I'm picking, and they don't know what my prediction is or what my own thoughts. And you know, I try and be as unbiased as possible. I just kind of look at both fighters, and I pick and choose elements from both guys where I think they can win. And then, yeah, I'll pick the guy I think is going to win, like everyone else. But it's just weird, you know, how there's guys that get so offended by the fact that, like, I could pick Crawford. You know, it's like, what's the big deal about that, man? Or, you know, I could be picking Canelo. You'll find out later if you keep watching. But yeah, man, you just gotta wait and see who I'm actually predicting. Maybe you'll be in for a surprise, or maybe not. You'll have to wait. So yeah, we'll get on to kind of like the punch stats and stuff. Obviously, I was talking about how I basically messed up and missed out Berlanga for Canelo's stats, but I'll show you like an example of that. So I kind of had like slides like this in terms of like average punches thrown. And they're pretty much, like spot on in terms of what I had, but I just thought, instead of just, putting out the wrong stuff, I just thought I'd get up the CompuBox numbers and just comparing the two. And I'm not too, guys, leave it in the chat if you know. Like, I don't know how far back the CompuBox, but I'm assuming it's like all their fights all put together, but I wasn't too sure how far back it goes in CompuBox in terms of all these put together. Or if it's like the last 10 fights, last 5 fights, I wasn't sure. But in terms of punches landed per round, obviously Terence, about the same as Canelo, actually. Punches thrown, Terence Crawford, about 46 punches thrown per round. Alvarez isn't too far behind, but I think that's to be expected about Crawford. He's going to be throwing more punches, and that's the other thing. I expect that in this fight on Saturday. I do feel Terence Crawford is going to be throwing more punches. That's just something I feel, and we know Canelo comes in with like the single power punches, tries to set up the left hook, and he's going to try set up the right hand behind the double jab or the power jab. In terms of connection, Canelo is a little bit ahead of Terence Crawford. Jabs, obviously, Crawford wins that in terms of jabs landed. And then obviously power punches, they're quite similar. That's the other thing, which really surprised me about these stats, is like they are quite even in some areas. Power punches landed per round, Alvarez 10, Crawford's pretty much 10 there as well. And then power connection, they're pretty much the same as well. Again, it's quite striking, actually. And then obviously opponents landing on them per round, Alvarez does take a few more. And I believe Terence Crawford, out of like the top 10 pound for pound on CompuBox, Crawford is the one. I think he's the third least hit out of the top 10, and Alvarez is like 7 or 8. So, and it's not, obviously Alvarez has a much more front foot aggressive style, and I think that's always going to be a factor. In terms of him getting hit a lot more, there's going to be more opportunities to hit him. And yeah, but yeah, guys, like I said just before, make sure to leave your comments in the chat. I'm here to answer them if you want. And if you disagree with me, let me know as well. I'd love to know. What did Femi Moore say? Crawford is going to win, mate. He very well could, man. There's a possibility. And he also said this as well. Host, you need to learn boxing more and be less biased. Like, this is the issue. It attracts all the trolls this fight. It's funny. Ryan, man, thanks for the comment. I appreciate it. Do you feel people are downplaying Canelo's skills? I've kept hearing the narrative that the fight is size versus skill. I see it as skill versus skill, plus size, plus more experience at the higher level. Yeah, man, I think 100% people are downplaying Canelo's skills, in my opinion. I think, as much as I do think the size is going to play a factor in this fight, I think Canelo is very underrated in terms of his own IQ. Obviously, he's not as slick and cute as Terence Crawford in terms of his movement and stuff. He's more rugged in more recent fights anyway. But we do know Canelo has the ability to use great upper body movement and stuff, and even just set up shots. Particularly that left hook. The way he goes to the body or around the guard, incredible. And I think obviously, like more recently, if we were looking at, obviously I was looking at the records there, Ryan, it's like, has he started to decline a little bit? And he is just relying a bit too much on the size and physicality. That's the question I've got. And I think we're going to see, the skills of Alvarez in this fight, potentially. It's going to motivate him, isn't it? And I think as well, he'll want to test Crawford as well pretty early to see how he handles the punching power and to see if Crawford does back up. And I think as well, Ryan, like he does have the ability to, use his defensive skills. Let's say if, his punching power isn't quite as effective as he thinks it's going to be, maybe that's, he will need to go kind of back to his old ways and look to use head movement, waist movement, and try and make Crawford overcommit. But, we could talk about it. Obviously, that's why we're here. We could talk about it all night. But no, that's a great question, Ryan. I appreciate it, man. And yeah, like I said, guys, any questions, leave it in the chat. I'll get to it in a sec. And make sure to like the stream as well. I really appreciate it. And obviously, recently ran a poll just today on the community page. And we had, it was quite even across the board, I have to admit. I think when I took this screenshot, there's about, I believe about just over 1,000 votes. It might have grown since then. But, like I said, I think Canelo KO or Crawford points seems to be the popular one at the moment. But yeah, you'll get my predictions soon after I kind of go through some other stuff before the end of the video. But yeah, like I can understand, that like I've seen so many people go Crawford and then other people Canelo that I never thought would go that way. And that's the other thing I wanted to show you is like, if I just share my screen, there was on ESPN, they had, what have they got? Like these like picks from people. And I love how they've got expert. That's the other thing. It's like so weird because they had some like Michael J. Fox as an expert. Like, how's he an expert? Strange. Anyways, so Amir Khan, he has Crawford. Interestingly, because Amir Khan has fought both Crawford and Canelo, but he's picking Crawford, which is interesting. Mike Tyson, weirdly, obviously it says Crawford here, but I saw a video recently where he's saying he thinks Canelo's going to get the decision. Tim Bradley, obviously we know who he's picking this weekend, Terence Crawford. Christy Martin, she's picking Crawford. Let's see if we've got any other recognizable. Sean Porter, he's picking Crawford, obviously former opponent. And trying to look at anyone else. Ray Beltran, another former Crawford opponent. Obviously, the former Crawford guys are going to pick him, former opponents, should I say. Edgar Berlanga Sr. is Berlanga's dad. He's picking Crawford, which is interesting too. Yeah, some of these expert picks are just so random. I've never heard of a lot of them. And yeah, bizarre. Bizarre in my opinion anyway. I don't know what you guys think. And sorry, we'll move back just onto here. All right, some other questions. Coach, what's up, brother? What's up, man? Hope you're good, man. First off, love and appreciate your work. You give a lot back to the boxing community and the sport. I think Sal takes this. I've been 149 all the way through. Yeah. Well, I'll get to my predictions soon, man. And yeah, it's a difficult one, man. Like I said, both guys are so skilled, and they've got the records to back it up. I know some people will accuse both their records actually, but yeah, I think yeah, man, it's going to be like I said, it could go either way, really. And there's going to be a lot of people, half of the people that are predicting this fight are going to be very upset come Sunday morning or Saturday night when you're watching. What else did you say, man? High IQ on display this weekend. Who do you see being more successful in setting up traps? Personally, instead of in terms of traps, I have to go Canelo in terms of just his ability to. I don't know if you guys have seen my videos on Canelo in terms of him setting up the right hand, and obviously he throws a double jab or a single jab before he throws the right, and he mixes up the target location of the right hand, either to the body, to the arm, or the head, or down the pipe. He mixes the location of the punch and the way he throws it as well. He might throw it as a rear hook, straight punch, and yeah, it keeps you guessing. And I'm intrigued to see how because I think Canelo is going to do that against Crawford, and I think it's more about Crawford anticipating that trap, for example. But the other thing about Crawford, the other trap I can see him landing quite consistently well is the right hook over the top of Canelo's jab. If Canelo throws the jab enough, that's a punch Crawford loves to throw. Is when you overcommit with your jab, you just overextend that little bit too much. Sorry, he'll just crack you with the right hook from the southpaw stance and then pivot out and regain center of the ring. So, yeah, man, I can see those kind of scenarios happening in the fight. Yeah, man, it's exciting. I can't wait. Yeah, guys, like I said, like the video if you've just come on, and feel free to leave your comments in the chat and I'll get to them at some point. And just check. And we've also got the undercard this weekend. I don't know, I don't think it's a bad undercard. I think there's some good fights on. I think the Callum Walsh, Fernando Vargas Jr. fight, I think that could be amazing. I really do. And I really like Callum Walsh. I was watching a little bit of him yesterday. I think he's a really talented guy, southpaw. And then, you've got Fernando Vargas, who's, just from the few fights that I've seen of him as well, he's game, man. He's got some good skills. So I think this could be, it's a good 50-50 fight on the undercard. And because it's such a big occasion, they're both going to want to go for it and win. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that fight, I have to admit. And who else we got? We got Mbili and Martinez as well. Another good, decent fight. I think I really like the look of Mbili in terms of just his physicality. I think he's definitely a danger for sure for a lot of guys at 168 pounds. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him at light heavyweight at one day as well. I think he's definitely a dangerous guy to fight just because of his physicality. And I wouldn't say he necessarily has that one punch knockout power. He just overwhelms you basically with his punches and his physicality. But Martinez, he's not a bad guy either. If you guys have watched him, he's a decent fighter. And there's always the possibility, if Mbili gets a little bit too confident, he walks onto something as well. So yeah, it's another really, good fight. Maybe not like the biggest names, but still a good fight. Who else we got? Jermaine Franklin versus Dinchenko. Now, shout out to World Class Boxing, the World Class Boxing channel. That's how I found out about Dinchenko, because he used to train in that gym. And yeah, I really like the look of him. I think he's dangerous. Obviously, Kazakh, 6 foot. I think he's like 6'8", long reach, good boxing skills. And then Jermaine Franklin, he's got really, fast hands. We saw obviously him against Anthony Joshua, Dillian White. So there's the potential that he could cause some problems for sure. So yeah, I think that's another good fight. And we've got Boachuk on as well. So I can't remember the guy's name. Leave it in the chat if you remember who he's fighting. And it's a rematch. It's the guy he lost to. Sorry, I've completely his name has escaped me. But yeah, that's another good fight. Boachuk will want to right his wrongs and get the win there. So yeah, I think that's a good fight. But let's have a look. Dr. Lady Z, Bankhead, I appreciate the efforts of everyone involved in this great event. Thank you. Yeah, it should be a good night. The Ring Magazine have done a good job. And yeah. John, man, appreciate it. Good to join you, Jamie. I'm undecided on this one. Both are so evenly matched. But if I had to pick one, I'll go with Crawford to edge it. Yeah, it's a hard one to pick, man. I have to admit, I've been going back and forth for weeks about this fight. But I'm pretty set on where I am. But obviously, I'll review that pretty soon to you guys. Don't worry if you hang about. If you guys like the video and leave your comments in the chat, I will try and get to my final prediction for Canelo Crawford in the next kind of 10 minutes and let you know my thoughts and how I think it will play out. So yeah, like I said, leave your comments in the chat and like the video. I'd really appreciate it. It helps out. Ryan, I'm curious as to know how Bud will respond to the body attack from Canelo. Do you think there could be a moment like Canelo's recent opponents who have felt the power and speed and shell up because of it? Yes, but man, like Ryan, there's always that potential, man. I think have we really seen Bud sustain those types of body attacks against, let's be honest, Canelo is an elite body puncher, not in terms of necessarily taking guys out to the body, but in terms of targeting there and using it as a way to create openings up top and to even just slow you down yourself. You know, those are definitely questions I've had as well. But at the same time, Ryan, I've always felt people don't target Alvarez's body enough. They never have. The only guys I feel like have really had success doing it are Mayweather and Bivol. And even Bivol didn't really go down there that much. But Mayweather, you know, he's kind of the same height as Crawford as well. He went to the body a lot against Canelo in their fight. And it was like ever since then, I just feel Canelo's had a bit of a tighter guard. He makes it difficult for you to target the body. And also just the upper body movement. You know, you think that you're closer than you think to actually target there or get there. And yeah, man, it's a hard one. It really is. Really is. But guys, I'm just going to take a short break. I'll be back in like 30 seconds. But I'll just leave you this short ad if that's okay, and then we'll get right back onto the other fights this weekend, including Crocker versus Donovan and Inoue versus MJ. Okay, all right, I'll be back in 1 sec. I want to tell you about the Boxing Life Patreon. On there, I have an ever-growing library of fight film studies, which goes into extensive details of tactics and styles. Not only that, you get early access to upcoming videos and extra content, including my betting previews with my own personal predictions and picks. Well, you can also ask me questions on my monthly Q&A. If you want to go a step further, the champ level tier gives you the request for me to create your own film study or cover a boxing topic. Whether it's your favorite fighter or an upcoming fight, I'll cover it. This is a great way to support the channel and for me to dive deeper into the sweet science without the worry of content getting blocked or demonetized on YouTube. If you want to try it out, there is a 7-day free trial. I'll leave it in the description below. So guys, welcome back again. Sorry, I just had to take a quick break there. And obviously I just showed you the Patreon and I'll leave that in the chat for you guys. Obviously, just saw the ad there. 7-day free trial. You get access to up to 50 exclusive film studies, which are on there right now, plus other exclusive content. And I do monthly Q&As specifically for members. You can chat with me directly on there. And it's just a way to support the channel. And yeah, if you guys want to check it out, join the free trial. It's in the chat. You guys can have a look at that after this. And yeah, next up is a fight I'm really looking forward to. And I think it's a shame that it's been on this fight week and Crocker versus Donovan too. And yeah, I think it's obviously in America, it's, you know, probably no one's even paying attention to this fight, but yeah, I think this could be the fight of the weekend. I really do. But going off that first fight, I think just the controversy around it, with obviously Donovan's headbutts and stuff like that, and the obviously hitting Crocker after the bell. Don't know what you guys think about that, but yeah, I think Donovan though was still winning that fight pretty comfortably. But I'm intrigued to see what Crocker does to adjust. I really am. I think he's obviously a big puncher. You can, you know, if he cracks you, you know, he's going to hurt you. But Donovan seemed to take his punches pretty good in that fight. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Sorry. But yeah, I think for Donovan, he just needs to basically not lean in with his head as much. Obviously, I think the referee will be looking out for that, see if he is kind of using his head. And then the other thing about Donovan in that fight, I don't know, you guys have watched it back, 100% used his shoulder, not his shoulder, his elbow to crack Crocker in the underneath the eye. So there's just little like subtle dirty tactics that Team Donovan did. Maybe Andy Lee's told him these things, but you know, I still think Donovan was just the superior guy in the night, and I'd like to see him just use a little bit more distance. You know, when he was actually creating that space between those two guys, you know, he was having a lot of success, I have to admit. So, yeah, great fight. But in terms of this, my prediction for this one, I have to go, obviously, Donovan. I just think it was clear the skill level on the night, you know, how much better he was. And I think he should have the ability to get the job done this time if he just fights with a little bit more distance. And the thing is, Crocker, you know, he just uses that high guard, comes forward, tries to land the overhand left, or tries to get uppercuts on the inside, or throw the power jabs. There's no feints. There's no uncertainty in terms of what he's going to do next. And, you know, Donovan was just able to read it so easily. So, yeah, man, I'd like to see Crocker do a little bit better in this fight, but I'm really struggling to see it unless he manages to basically crack Donovan early. Yeah, it's going to be a hard one, but yeah, I'm going Donovan on Saturday night. First all-Irish world title fight, believe it or not. I can't believe that. You would think out of the whole history of boxing, there would have been an all-Irish fight. But yeah, looking forward to that. Should be an incredible atmosphere there as well. Sorry, I'll just get to some comments. And Yamazaki, man, appreciate it. Thanks for joining. I'm assuming this is about Bud. So for me, the combinations are the key for Bud in this fight. I think he can prevent Canelo from stepping into the correct range and setting himself up behind that high guard. Yeah, I think he needs to be really smart about it, because it's a difficult one. I keep thinking about Crawford in these positions, and I'm going back to the Madrimov fight, even the Avanesian fight, and the way he was able to throw his combinations together at times, and he had to stand his ground and time it pretty well in terms of knowing they weren't going to punch back. But I don't think Canelo's going to allow him to do that, really, man. If I'm being honest, I just can't see. Yeah, we'll see. We'll obviously find out tomorrow. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does. But I think he's going to have to throw in combinations, and he's going to have to, when he throws in combinations, he has to try push Canelo back and force him to reset. If he doesn't do that, he's going to get countered pretty bad, or it's going to be a fight in the inside. Oh, Henry, man, appreciate you joining, man. I saw you were on your stream recently, or just like earlier. So hope yours went well, man. Good to have you on. Yeah, man. Like I hope, like I said, I hope Crocker just comes in with something a bit different. He just marched forward behind that high guard, didn't really offer anything feints, no jab, really. Yeah, it was so one-dimensional, and you know, maybe that's just his ability. Like if you actually go back and watch his other fights, you know, it's a hard one. Like I think he could be in for a real tough night, or you know, could he just use his physicality and catch Donovan early and then maybe make it a bit closer? But yeah, we'll find out tomorrow. But yeah, should be a good one, man. Thanks for joining, Henry. All right. And yeah, guys, make sure to like the video. I'm going to reveal my prediction for Canelo and Crawford very soon. But before that, I'm going to give you my Inoue versus MJ prediction, or my thoughts on this fight anyway. So yeah, feel free to leave your comments in the chat and I'll get to it, okay? And yeah, for MJ versus Inoue, man, I think that it's such a shame this fight has not been picked up by a broadcaster. I believe, I don't know if you guys know yet, it's going to be on the Top Rank Facebook page of all things. It's not on the YouTube, only on the Facebook page as far as I know. So make sure to head over there on Sunday to watch the fight. But regardless, I just think it's, you know, like I can't believe no one was able to pick it up. And I get, like, I understand, you know, Top Rank are wanting to keep the rights with, you know, for Inoue in terms of the UK and American audiences. But yeah, it's like, considering he's like one of their biggest fighters as well, obviously he is under Mr. Honda in Japan, but like as part of that partnership with Top Rank, you'd think to be able to source something for this. And because this is like, in my opinion, I think this could be Inoue's hardest fight at super bantamweight. I really do. I think MJ is the real deal. I really think he can cause some problems. Obviously, MJ is a southpaw. He's got good footwork, good amateur background as well, and decent body puncher too. But I don't know if you guys saw my tactical overview. You know, there is some openings there for Inoue to target against MJ for sure. You know, MJ does like to go into that high guard at times, and I can see Inoue licking his lips at the opportunity to go to the body, whether with the left hook or similar to what Canelo does, you know, that double jab and then uses the right hand, but he throws it in an uppercut as a rear hook down the middle. And I think, you know, that could cause a lot of problems against MJ, who's obviously a southpaw. So, yeah, I just think this is a tough fight, mainly just due to the movement of MJ more than anything. I think this is going to be more of a boxing fight. A boxing match, rather than a all-out war, if I'm being frank. And even Inoue, I saw some of the press, and like even Inoue was saying, yeah, I'm not going to try. He thinks he's the better fighter, obviously, which, you know, I think he's got a reason to believe that. But I think he was saying, you know, no, I'm going to look to box this guy and try and, you know, just win this fight, rather than saying that I'm going to knock him out, like straight out. So, yeah, I think this is a really tough fight. I think it's going to go personally, I think this is going to go the full 12 rounds. I think MJ is so slippery. He's not going to let Inoue get all his punches off. I think the safe bet, if you're betting this weekend, I think obviously it's hard to bet against Inoue not getting the knockout, but I think he should have enough to get a points decision, but he needs to be very careful. Obviously, we've seen him run into punches now against Cardenas and even Neary when he was on the inside, just getting a little bit sloppy. Maybe he's just thinking his power, he can overwhelm him with his power. Nevertheless, saying all that, Inoue's been able to like completely just dominate them after, hasn't he? Pretty much. Apart from maybe taking the odd little shot, but he's just completely stepped it up a gear. It's like it wakes him up, and he needs that, you know, that punch to wake him up, really. So, yeah, I'm going Inoue points decision this weekend. I have to go with that. I think MG is going to make it a tough night, but yeah, it's gonna be a hard one. Sorry, I'm just going to get through some of these questions. As I said, guys, leave it in the comments, and I will get to it. And sorry, we're just going back to the Crocker Donovan fight. So, Evan, thanks for the comment, man. Appreciate it. Paddy Donovan, round 9 TKO. Canelo round 10 TKO. Oh, interesting. Fair enough. Yeah, like I said, people in the poll, as you can see, were actually a lot picking. You know, 35% out of 1,000 people were picking Canelo KO. Is that just fanboys, or is it, you know, legit, you know, boxing purists that are actually thinking about this fight and how it could play out? Only you can know. Coachman, thanks for the comment. And I can't wait for this one. I'm interested to see what Crocker does coming back. He has the tape. I'm hearing he makes adjustments and has had a better camp. Stoked for this one as well. Yeah, man, it should be a really good fight. I am looking forward to it. I think both fighters are going to play off the atmosphere in Belfast, aren't they? There's going to be a huge crowd. Obviously, it's in the stadium, Windsor Park. So yeah, I think, you know what the Irish fans are like. They make a racket, man. So yeah, it should be a really good one. And MJ Inoue as well, man. Yeah, Facebook is crazy. What are you doing anyway? The real question is that Inoue is getting dropped of recent, showing some areas to exploit. Does MJ take advantage of it? Anyway, like I said, man, I think there's definitely areas for MJ to make it a tricky night. I think he's got a good, you know, he's got a really solid left hand as well, that can do some damage, going to the body, round the guard, up top. Yeah, he's a difficult one. He really is a tricky little guy, and I think he'll cause problems for Inoue. But yeah, I think overall Inoue is just a better fighter, for being frank. So Yeah, it's an interesting one, but yeah, I think it's almost time. I think you guys, some of you, if you've been here a while, you're probably waiting for me to get my final prediction, man. Yeah, look, like I said, guys, I've done obviously my tactical overviews. I've watched both guys for years now. I'm a fan of both of them as well. I just want to make that clear. I'm not a fanboy of either guy. I like them both. I like the skills they bring. I like the different styles that they both have and possess. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see how it plays out. If I'm being honest, I always go back to the Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence. Now that was kind of similar in terms of how people were thinking this fight was going to play out. And if I'm being honest, like I always had a hunch Terence Crawford had the skill set and had the ability to beat Spence. I always thought that. Maybe there was a couple of times, I thought Spence was the better guy, but I just always had that hunch, the skill set of Crawford. He just had that little bit more, okay? Now, this is a bit different, okay? As you guys know, Terence Crawford's moving up from 154 pounds to 168 pounds. 2 weight divisions, pretty much. He's only had one fight, 154 pounds, where, let's be honest, I've watched that fight back about 5 times now. And as much as Crawford had some great moments in that fight, he just did not convince me, guys. I'm sorry, but and Madrimov isn't the biggest 154 pounder either. There's bigger guys. You look at what someone like Virgil Ortiz did to Madrimov. And obviously, Madrimov had some good success, but going off that and just the moments in time where Crawford, he really had to take his time getting into that fight. And obviously he did step up towards the end of the fight, and he did have some good moments early in the fight as well. But overall, it was the end of the fight where he kind of took it. And against Canelo Alvarez, it's a hard one for me, guys. I think because of the weight, I think that's just a factor. As much as Canelo looks like he doesn't look that big before fight night, he fills out so big, man. And the fact that he's pushing guys back like Berlanga, who's so much bigger than him, he must have been weighing like at least, over 200 pounds on the night when he faced Canelo. Same with, Charlo as well, looked so much bigger than Canelo in the weigh-in, but then come fight night, what did they all do? Even Skull, Skull's a big, big guy. He's boxing the back foot for 12 rounds. Sure, that's his style. But surely if you feel like you can hurt him and push him back, yeah, I really struggle to see Crawford being able to do that. And I think he'll have success in moments in this fight. But I also think just the inactivity as well from Crawford is a big factor for me. I feel, one fight a year, sure, he's always in the gym and all that, but like I said, he starts these fights slow, whereas Canelo has been, just more active. And for me, it's going to be the size that's going to be the main factor in this fight. As much as the skills will play a part, I think Canelo's, he's been at this weight for so much longer than Crawford. Crawford's moving up for the first time. I think Crawford will be game in this fight. Like he's going to give it a go. But ultimately, Canelo just has far more experience at this weight. And for me, I have him winning this fight. So, and trust me, guys, I've been going back and forth about this, but yeah, I can't see it. I can't see Crawford dealing with that, the weight of Canelo. I hope I'm proven wrong. Sometimes this is the thing. It doesn't matter to me who wins. I just want to see a good fight at the end of the day. But I think Crawford is going to struggle with the weight at some point in this fight. And the other thing, like, how's Crawford going to handle the extra weight? We've seen guys move up before, and it's just not gone to plan. Either they do well early in the fight, or they start to slow down. But saying all that, I don't think it's not possible for Crawford to win this fight. I think if he plays it smart, plays it at range, tries to fight him at distance, I think he has a good shot. I really do. I think he has to fight the perfect fight. Is that possible? It's Terence Crawford, of course. Of course it's possible. But Canelo, I think he's the natural, at this stage, he's the natural 168-pounder. He knows how to deal with these guys, really. And I think Crawford will be looking to box in the back foot, trying to outbox him. But ultimately, Canelo's going to be the one that's trying to make the fight. And unless Crawford can't push him back, Canelo wins this fight on points, in my opinion. And there you go, guys. You know, it's funny because for weeks, people have been saying, I'm going to pick Crawford, or I was a Crawford fanboy. I'm like, even though I was picking Canelo, it's funny how people were accusing me of that. But like I said, made the best man win on Saturday. But yeah, I'll get to some of your questions. Let me know your thoughts on my prediction, and I'd love to hear that. So yeah, I'll get to your questions. Ulysses, thank you, man, for the super chat. I appreciate it, man. Fanboys calling knockout Canelo 150. Yeah, like I think it's going to be a points decision, Canelo, like you said, man. I just feel the size is going to play a factor as it goes onto the second half of the fight anyway. Even though Canelo at times does take rounds off, and those are the moments Crawford might capitalize on. As soon as Canelo starts marching forward, trying to take the fight to Crawford, is Crawford really going to stand in the pocket and try and trade with him? Nah. And it's a risky strategy, considering he's never been at this weight, to open up against someone like Canelo who can hurt you in a moment. So, yeah, man, it's a tough one. Where are the? Thanks for the comment. This is a good question. How much stock do you put into the rounds Canelo has shared with Hernandez and Boots in camp? Yeah, I'm really intrigued by those sparring partners. I have to admit, I feel like two good sparring partners to bring in. I believe Hernandez was in longer than Boots. Boots only came for like a day or two, from what I heard. So, yeah, I think, you know, they both can fight out of both stances. So, yeah, those are the perfect sparring partners to bring in. Obviously, Boots, you know, is there a bit of psychological stuff going on there, bringing in Boots? But I think just stylistically, it was a good sparring partner to bring in to get him some work before Crawford, basically, because the other thing about Boots, which is interesting as well, Boots likes to actually stand his ground in the pocket. Now, for me, Crawford needs to stand his ground in the pocket to win this fight, and he kind of goes behind the shoulder roll. You saw that versus Avanesian. So I think that's a smart sparring partner for Canelo to bring in, because Boots does bring you different scenarios. I'm not like, obviously, I still think he does have a different style to Crawford, but they have similar approaches at times. And in terms of Hernandez, I really like to look at him. Obviously, middleweight, Cuban. He can be aggressive. He can box in the back foot, southpaw, orthodox. Yeah, great fighter. And, you know, these are the types of guys you want in your camp. I actually don't know who Crawford had in his camp. I believe he had Fernando Vargas, who's on the undercard. I believe he was on his one of his sparring partners, from what I heard. But I'm not too sure. I don't know if you guys have heard any of Crawford's sparring partners. Leave it in the chat. And yeah, like I said, guys, like the video, it really helps out. And I'll get to the next questions. Sal Pinto, thanks for the question. Will Inoue get the respect he deserves when he defeats MJ? Yeah, I hope so. I think he, you know, he's a good fighter. I really rate MJ. I think he's handy, southpaw, tricky. He can set you up himself with the left hand. He changes it up. He's a decent counterpuncher. Like Inoue, like, it's not an easy fight. This is like a hard fight. I wouldn't be surprised if MJ knocked Inoue down or something in this fight, honestly. So yeah, no, I think he should get the respect. But I said that in my tactical overview, this isn't a tune-up fight in any shape or form. Obviously, Junto Nakatani's getting lined up. I think he's lined up to fight Picasso in January in the ring card. It's no December, is it? Or November, December. He's lined up to fight Picasso. So he should get through that personally. But the MG fight for me is the risky one, I have to admit. Stephen, love your videos. Think Bud has consistent enough jab to trouble Canelo. Yeah, like this is the thing I'm intrigued about. I think he'll probably have a similar kind of approach to what he did against Avanesian, looking to touch the high guard, just push him off balance. You know, Bivol did that against Canelo as well. And just try set him up with that counter right hook as Canelo commits, or he's about to commit. You know, Skull actually did a good job at times with that. But like I said, he just needs to stand his ground, and Canelo's very hard to go to the body. And from the southpaw stance, it can be a little bit more tricky to land to the body, I guess, just because there's a little bit more distance to travel. But I think maybe if he's in the orthodox stance, he might be able to actually land the body jab a bit better. So I'm intrigued to see if Bud actually fights from that stance at times. I think fighting the southpaw stance is the safer bet. I think he won't take as much punishment, and yeah, I think it's a good one for or a good thing for Crawford to consider is going to the orthodox stance to use that jab, you know. And Coach, having boots in camp is big in my opinion. Thanks for hosting this, Jamie. Last one. Quick thoughts on Roach versus Pitbull. That's a banger. Yeah, man. I think that's a good fight too. Obviously, you know, Roach's performance against Tank, so impressed with that, man. So, and I think he'll be wanting to prove a point by maybe like, you know, beating Pitbull pretty convincingly, you know. I still think that Roach Tank fight is huge. As much as I think, you know, Tank taking this Jake Paul fight is just ridiculous, I still think the Roach Tank fight after can be made. Makes a lot of money too, probably, for both guys, and makes sense. I think fans are interested in it. And yeah, hopefully we get to see a really, really good fight. And I want to see more of Roach, definitely. And who doesn't like a Pitbull Cruz fight? Man, that guy is just so entertaining to watch. So yeah, hopefully we get to see more of him. Oh, Henry, my man. Thanks for the other questions. I appreciate it, brother. I win Crawford points in the end, bro. So tough to call. Do you think Crawford and Canelo's toughest, or do you think Crawford is Canelo's toughest fight since Bivol? Yeah, I'm just looking at. See, I think the Madrimov was a tough fight for him. I really do. The Sean Porter fight. Sorry, what am I doing? For some reason, I'm thinking Crawford. I meant Canelo's fight. Sorry, I don't know. I had a bit of a mind blank there, man. I'm just looking at this record. Like, yeah, probably on like I think the guy that actually gave him the most trouble out of everyone was probably between probably Skull and Munguia. Munguia actually stood his ground. Earlier in the stream, I was saying Munguia actually stood his ground, and in those first 4 rounds before Munguia got knocked down, was actually giving Canelo a lot of problems. He was getting through a lot of his combinations and really making Canelo have to think about, okay, how do I stop this guy from keep coming forward? And in terms of William Skull, yeah, he just really struggled with the movement. So overall, yeah, obviously Bivol is like, I think Crawford is probably going to be the toughest fight just in terms of like what he offers. He's so versatile, but you know, there's always the possibility, and what I think the size is going to be a big problem. Yeah, I think it's going to be a problem for him, man, if I'm being honest. Salpunto, thanks for the question. Why is Turkey interested in making the Inoue fight against Picasso after this? Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why they announced it now. They could have waited after the MJ fight. And yeah, I just don't get it. I just think he probably wants to bring Inoue to Saudi Arabia as well. That's probably part of it. raise his profile in a Riyadh season card there. Makes sense, I guess, in terms of raising his profile with a wider audience. And yeah, I think still a tough fight. Picasso, he's a handy little fighter. Well, he's actually quite tall, isn't he, for that weight division? But like, he's still a good little fighter, you know. And he could cause some problems. But like I said, this is a banana skin this weekend. So, and I just don't like this announcing fights, you know, before they've actually had the fight that they have. You know, it really irritates me. Don't know what you guys think about that, but yeah, I just really don't like it. Clarissa, are you going to have a face-off today or today's official weigh-in? It? Are they? Oh, so no. Are they going to have the face-off? So they're having like a ceremonial weigh-in. I think they've already had the weigh-in, and that's in there. So, like I said earlier, like I think Crawford looks incredible shape, and it'd be interesting to see if he fills out a bit more in fight night. Canelo looks a bit drained a little bit. I don't know, just from looking at it, but Canelo fills out so well. But yeah, no, I think it's like I can't remember what time it's on, and I'm obviously based in the UK, so I don't know what time that'll start. Stephen, what do you say? Chris Algieri said it's hard to land body shots on Canelo because of his short torso and risk of explosive counters. Yeah, man, that's the thing. It's like you risk going downstairs with the body from the orthodox stance. He looks to counter you. You know, watch I think it was the Kovalev fight. Kovalev tried to go to the body, like kind of dig down to the body from a higher position. And he just got caught with those left hooks. So even Triple G, you know, people accused him of headhunting a bit too much in those fights. But there's a reason why he didn't go to the body, because Canelo can come up and absolutely crack you. So yeah, it's a risky one going to the body. But like I said, I think Crawford from the southpaw stance, sure, he might not, you know, there's a bit more distance between the two, but because he's got the longer reach, the better jab, you'll be able to touch him and maybe set up the backhand behind it, you know, like he did against Avanesian, for example. I think that's a possibility. So yeah, it's a risky one. I think Chris Algieri obviously he's got a good point there. But I think another factor is, you know, when Crawford was fighting Madrimov, you know, when they would get in the pocket, you know, Crawford would take his opportunity to land his body shots there. And even if they weren't fully connecting, you know, they're hitting the arms, you know, it's still making Madrimov drop his guard that little bit. So I'd like to see Crawford try and do that in this fight if he gets in those positions. And it's risky. It really is. But, you know, in the long run, he might have to do it. And keep the questions coming, guys. I'm going to stay on another kind of 15 minutes or so. So yeah, if you got any last questions, I'll try to get through these as quick as possible. Elise, thanks for the question. Hopefully, and it's really unlikely, but I really want Crawford to take more chances, really get in there and trade. I mean, at this point, the only way to make something out of this is to show grit. Well, I wouldn't necessarily need to say he needs to show grit, but I think like he needs to be smart about it. He can't just start trading, hoping that he lands one big one. And Crawford likes to hurt you first, usually, before he goes for you. And unless he's able to do that, I can't see him really opening up. We kind of saw towards the end of the Madrimov fight, he kind of went for it a little bit, started kind of fighting at a higher pace. But is this extra body weight going to not allow him to fight like that in the later rounds? That's a big question. Especially when you've got someone like Canelo throwing absolute bombs at you for the previous kind of like 10 rounds. If you're in the championship rounds, you know, how's Crawford going to handle that? So, Billman, I want to see Ginger's career come to an end. All right. I'd like to see him box a couple more years personally, but there you go. He's not everyone's fan, and I get it. Clarissa, thanks for the question. Buddy's going to keep that jab in Canelo's face all night. Just take a step back. Anytime Canelo throws a counter, Canelo's to death all night to a unanimous decision. Yeah, like I don't know. Like it depends, like I said, how Crawford approaches it. I think obviously Canelo uses that high guard. He's not going to stick out his lead hand that much. So there's not going to be that many opportunities. It'll be more like the Avanesian fight of Canelo touching his high guard, isn't it? That's what I think anyway. And kind of just putting it in his guard, in his face, blinding him. But then there's always the possibility Canelo tries to come up over the top when you do that. Even Avanesian was able to catch Crawford a few times with that. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if he can use the jab effectively. Sorry, Henry man, just saw that there. Munguia stayed in the pocket a bit too long. Yeah, he just, like I said, you watched back the fight, he was having some good success in those first kind of 3 rounds, the first 4 rounds, and then got knocked down, and then he was on his bike almost pretty much. He was just scared to open up after that. And then Canelo, I don't like to think that he did, but he did kind of carry him, didn't he? David Crawford has wanted this fight for a long time. He is ready. He's going to win. We'll find out tomorrow, man. And credit to him if he does it. You know, I think he deserves all the plaudits if he manages to get this win. I think it'd be an incredible achievement if he did it. So yeah, let's see what happens. I don't think he does it, but it'd be incredible if he did. Where does Canelo go after this fight? And I'm assuming he wins as well. It's a difficult, like, obviously I want to see him fight Benavidez. That's the fight I want to see so bad. And it's obviously there's chat about Eubank Jr. potentially. Yeah, it's like, I don't really know. If this, the other option is if this fight ends up being a draw or is very close, obviously the rematch makes sense. And yeah, for me, it's the Benavidez fight's the one I want to see. But is that going to happen? At the moment, I just can't see it. I think I just can't see it happening. The other fight, like, I think he deep down wants to have again. It's the one with Bivol. Now, people might say that's not the case, but I think he wants to correct that wrong. And obviously Bivol, he's getting a little bit older as well now. You know, is that a fight to make potentially on a Riyadh season card or something? But it'll probably be Eubank Jr. if we're being frank. Yeah, close to, like, I think Bud has probably been training for Canelo, like you said, but it's different come fight night, let's be honest. And as much as it doesn't, you know, because Crawford's in the gym all the time, he's always working, it's not such an issue. But it's just the inactivity for me over the last kind of 5 years, you know, one fight a year. I guess these top guys, that's what they have. You know, but Canelo's just been far more consistent. I think he'll start the better of the two potentially. Might take Crawford a little bit more time. And I like to be proven wrong, Clarissa. That's the other thing. So hopefully Crawford turns up well. So, and yeah, we'll see. Jeffrey, thanks for the question. What about the drug? What about the drug and allegations in the last couple of days on Carnova? What should be done? I don't know, man, about that. Not heard anything about that. John, do you think Crawford's slight height and reach advantage will have any bearings within the fight, such as allowing Crawford to utilize his strengths on the outside? Yeah, I think, obviously, I think him using the lead hand more as a blinder and a probing tool, touching Canelo, keeping him off balance, using it to frame as well when Canelo commits, sticking it out, using his forearms, and using it in terms of, yeah, just keeping that distance from the southpaw stance. giving him that little bit more space and looking to use it just to give him a little bit more time. However, that does create opportunities for Canelo to land that left hook to the body in particular. You know, we saw it against Billy Joe. Billy Joe would stick out the lead hand and he would get caught by that body shot too often. And I think Canelo could definitely target the body of Crawford if he starts doing that from the southpaw stance. And that's where I think maybe going to orthodox, potentially maybe at some moments in the fight, trying to get off the jab to the body could work, but we'll see. And you guys, I'll stay another 10 more minutes. If you've got any more comments in the or questions in the chat, that'd be great. And I'll get to it. And Stephen, I think Canelo could have beaten Benavidez I can't speak tonight. I think Canelo could have beaten Benavidez a few years ago. After the Bevo reality check, he's just been looking for winnable fights. Yeah, I think if we get up the fights that he's been having, Stephen, like, you're right. You know, Gennady Golovkin, you know, there was still, you know, people were still thinking that he could potentially do it, but let's be honest, he was past it, especially after we saw him fight in Japan. It was against Murata. Just, yeah, he looked completely off the pace. But even Canelo in that fight, I think he had the shoulder injury or the hand injury going into that fight. And then the John Ryder fight was actually the first fight back after that. So after the injury, should I say, Stephen. So yeah, it's not been the greatest run of form, but they're all like, they're not bad fighters that he's fought, you know, but I think when you're the face of boxing, when you're at the top, you want to see him fight the very best. And in terms of Benavidez, I've always said this as well, Stephen, he should have taken that fight, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, like I said, when he was young. And he's missed the opportunity now. I think if he goes into that fight, you know, Benavidez is the favorite, in my opinion, considering Canelo's form at the moment. And the longer he leaves it till the end of his career to maybe take that fight, the less chance he's got. Because Benavidez is only getting better, in my opinion. And as well, it'll be interesting to see let's say Canelo did take that fight, Stephen. The other thing I think Canelo might do is try bring him down to 168 pounds, just so Berlanga takes the fight. Maybe put it at a catch weight, just to drain Benavidez. That could be a possibility. And Canelo's no stranger to catch weights, as some of you will know, especially in his younger years. But to be fair to him, since he's moved up from 160 pounds, he's kind of been more solid in 168 pounds. So, okay, Josh, do you think we will see a resurgence of Canelo we saw against when he fought Saunders of Plant? I'd like to see that personally, just to see him a bit more fleet-footed, a bit more active. To be fair, in the Charlo fight, he actually looked quite good, in my opinion. Charlo just ran. But yeah, it's I don't know, like, I think you want to check Crawford out. The thing is about Canelo and also Crawford, they both like to check out their opponents, see what they kind of do in the first few rounds, don't they? But one of them has to start faster, and out of the two, I think it has to be Canelo. I think he needs to really assert himself in this fight and force Crawford to chase the fight and force him to open up. And that's the way Canelo can win this fight. But at the same time, we've seen Canelo slow down at times, haven't we? And take a round or two off. So yeah, it's an interesting one. All right, guys, if you've got any last questions, put it in the comments and I will try and answer them. And I appreciate any likes as well. It means a lot, really helps out. And I should hopefully have one more video out before fight night as well, guys. Basically just covering Crawford and his movement in terms of dealing with pressure fighters or guys that are aggressive. And that should be out tomorrow at some point. So make sure to check that out before fight night. And Stephen, man, I agree. As much as we criticize Canelo, we'll look back at his whole career with awe. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah, I agree, man. I think, like, you look at his record overall, it is incredible. Obviously, there is some there is some fights in there that are questionable. You know, people, I see, like, obviously a lot of people question that Kovalev fight. You know, obviously Canelo moved up to 175 pounds. And Kovalev was kind of past it. If we're being frank, it's interesting because there was other, you know, like I imagine like someone like Andrew Ward fighting Canelo or something like that. That's an interesting one. Trying to think of other fights Canelo could have had, but for me, in the trilogy with Golovkin anyway, it's like I had Golovkin winning the first two fights. And it's funny how the third fight, ironically, the judges had that the closest out of, in terms of the scorecards, I believe, out of all the other fights. Because the first fight, you had the Adelaide Bird situation where she gave that ridiculous scorecard. Yeah, ridiculous. Reaper had Canelo winning all three. Man, I don't like. I can maybe I can understand the second obviously the third fight and the second fight, but the first fight, Golovkin got robbed, man. In my opinion, I've watched that fight back so many times now, and there's just no way Canelo won that. Golovkin won at least by 2 rounds. But the second fight, it depended what you liked. Personally, I just felt Golovkin was just a bit more consistent with that jab. But Canelo was landing some really good power punches in that fight, wasn't he? And the fact he was pushing back Golovkin for pretty much most of the fight, that says it all. I believe Abel Sanchez, Golovkin's trainer, said that Golovkin just put their game plan out the window and he just started trying to box him, believing that he could outbox him. And I just think that was the wrong move from Golovkin that night. Even though I think he won even though I thought he won the fight, he just, yeah. Stephen, I still got, oh, sorry, that's, so I believe we don't have any more questions, and I will wrap this up soon, guys, unless you've got any more. But in case you missed my prediction, guys, I did give it to Canelo, and I like to be proven wrong. I hope Crawford can put up a good fight, but I think the weight is going to ultimately play a big factor in this. I'm not questioning Canelo's skills at all, or Crawford's. Sorry, I'm not questioning Crawford's skills in terms of being able to cause Canelo problems with his combination punching, with his jab, his distance control. But I just feel Canelo is gonna stick it on him and see how he handles it early. And maybe I'm in for a surprise this weekend myself, and maybe I'll see Crawford prove his greatness by beating Canelo. That would be unbelievable. And like you said, Stephen, will this be a snoozer? I have a feeling Inoue will step. Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about the Canelo fight. Potentially. There's both these guys could be so tentative in there that it might just not really kick off. And I hope that's not the case. I feel like more so in terms of Bud's mentality, he's just kind of got this dog in him. He's going to come forward at some point and try and take out Canelo, isn't he? If he knows he's losing. But the issue is a lot of these guys say they're going to do that, and then they don't once they feel the power. And Inoue might, if it is a snoozer, yeah, Inoue and MJ might need to save it. But personally, the other fight, which I talked about, the Crocker Donovan fight, I think this could be the fight of the weekend potentially, depending how Crocker approaches it, comes in. But I think just the atmosphere in Belfast, you know, first all-Irish fight for a world title, I think this could be a really good one. And Reaper just got to Vegas today. I'm going to watch this live. No way it's going to be a snoozer unless Bud runs. Yeah. Well, enjoy it, man. I don't know if you're going to the fight, Reaper, but enjoy it, man. I hope you have a good time. And I'm sure Vegas is going to be crazy this week with everything. But yeah, guys, I think I'm going to call it a day there. Like I said, I believe Canelo Alvarez gets the victory this weekend. I think it's a hard one. I've been tossing and turning for the last few weeks, going back and forth. I think Crawford has the ability to win this fight. I just don't think he will. I think the size is going to play a factor. And after this fight, you know, we will say, you know, there's weight divisions for a reason, potentially. Or we get the shock of the night. Maybe we're in for a bit of a surprise, but it should be a great weekend of boxing. I appreciate you guys for joining the stream. It means a lot. And I'm going to be doing a lot more of these going forward, guys. So hopefully can engage with you a bit more often. And yeah, I'll try and maybe do a stream on Sunday at some point after the Inoue fight. And I'll also give you my reaction to Canelo Crawford and Crocker versus Donovan too. So yeah, guys, I appreciate it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.
I respect everybody, but if you fuck with me, so it's gonna be different. But you gonna find out September 13th, this is gonna be different for you.
So when I beat you, is you gonna be a nobody? When I stuff a mud hole in your ass, is you gonna be a nobody? You're gonna be just like everybody else. Watch.
Opportunity to do something. Get it up the gear.
Here it is. Kovalev's hurt. Kovalev's down. Kovalev's out. It's over.